you might be asking, what you're saying, Marvin, is very interesting. How can you actually do it? What I want to share to you is not just also in Singapore. You have the ability right now to invest in one go, that you could have a platform that allows you to invest in Singapore stocks, their market. You also have the ability to buy US stocks directly. But not just that, you can also buy and trade US options. You can also do plain vanilla, covered call, and vertical option strategy, meaning Hey guys, so this is something that you guys have been asking for quite a while. You have been asking, how can I invest in Singapore? How can I invest in Singapore stocks? So in this video, I want to talk about how can you invest in Singapore stocks, but not just that. How can you invest in Singapore stocks and beyond? Meaning to have a position in other stocks, not just in the Philippines, but also in Singapore and other markets in the world. First things first, why Singapore? What makes Singapore very, very special? So personally, I've been a very, very big fan of Singapore as a country, on how they run their economy and how it also has flowed into the stock market. And if you've also been looking at it over the past few years, a lot of the financial institutions have been moving into Singapore. Singapore, I believe, over the next few years will be one of the biggest financial hubs, not just in Southeast Asia, but in Asia as a whole. Why do I like the stock market there? And please do note this, investing in the stock market of a certain country means that you are banking on their local economy. I really, really do believe that the Singapore economy is one of the most stable, less volatile economies that we have in the region. If you want a sense of stability but still be positioned in the stock market, Singapore is the way to go. Singapore will be a very, very good diversification play that will allow you to have a balance between stocks that are more volatile, stocks that are exposed to regions that are emerging, growing, but gives you a bit more risk. Singapore balances that out, gives you a level of stability. And if you compare to the stock market, it's not as volatile, which, especially for you guys that are getting as old as me also, it's nice to have exposure in the stock market, but in areas where it's not as volatile as well. Number two is this. What I like about Singapore stocks is that it's a very, very good complement if you already have Philippine stocks and you also have Singapore stocks. US stocks will give you exposure to the largest brands in the world. US stocks will give you also exposure to a lot of the tech stocks. And if you're a Filipino and you're watching this, investing in the Philippines gives you also exposure to the local Philippine economy. But if you add that two together, Singapore is a great mix. And that's what I have been doing also as a very, very good balancing act on how you can somehow create a good mix for your portfolio. Always do remember this. You can diversify by mixing stocks and bonds and real estate, but another way for you also to diversify is by diversifying via geography, meaning you have positions in the Philippines, you also have positions in the US market, but you can add another layer into it by also investing in the Singapore markets. And as what I've mentioned also, that Singapore is becoming one of the largest financial hubs in the region. What does that actually mean? You can also have the ability to be able to position in a lot of the financial / banking stocks that are in Singapore, which gives you a level of stability. Please do note this also. It's not just that the government is stable and the stock market is relatively less volatile, but if you look at their currency, it's one of the strongest and more stable in the region, hence a very, very good financial hub. That being said, investing in the Singapore stock market also gives you the ability to have access to financial companies, banks like DBS or UOB, or also it allows you to have exposure to companies that are not accessible in the Philippines, or there aren't really listed companies like that. So one example is ST Engineering, which is a very, very unique company that's based in Singapore. You can't find companies like that in the Philippines. Then you could also look at other established and very, very good companies there like Keppel, Capital Land, and also Singtel. So think about it. In the Philippines, you have Globe and Singtel also with partnerships together. If you are into like Globe or PLDT in the Philippines and you believe in the mobile market or the broadband market here, in the same token also, you get to have the same type of analysis. If you've done your research and you know a lot about telecoms, you can also superimpose that and look at also Singtel. So you're using the same style in how you're positioning in the Philippines, but also using that in other countries. So it's not just diversification, but you also get to leverage the skills that you have, and you get to be exposed in companies that are bigger than the ones in the Philippines, or they're not available in the Philippines because their business model is somewhat unique as well. And I want to say this also in terms of stocks that are highly connected to real estate, especially in Singapore. Singapore, their land is small, relatively small versus the Philippines. It will always be a supply and demand play, meaning a smaller piece of land, bustling economy that's reopening also due to all of us getting out of the pandemic. You could actually sense that as the economy continues to reopen, there will be a larger demand also for property and real estate. Hence, you have property stocks that are very, very unique in a country where real estate is expensive, and you also get to have a chance to have exposure to that as well. And lastly, and this is one of the things that I've been harping on for the past decade or so, way before there was REITs here in the Philippines, I already knew about REITs primarily because of the Singapore market, because of Singapore REITs. And what I like about it, as what I've mentioned also earlier, is that look at the real estate market, small chunk of land, and you have more people want to build and develop off of it. Dividends of REITs come from revenues of those companies, and larger demand that could happen in the future. You have the possibility for rental rates to go higher and the dividends to also be attractive. I'm saying this from a person who has been doing this for quite some time also in Singapore, and I want to say this from a person who has been monitoring the REIT market in Singapore. The REITs, the dividend yields, have not just been stable, but also very, very attractive compared to other dividend-paying stocks, and compared to other REITs, and compared to actually buying real estate. You have the ability to have something that's very liquid, and you're diversified. So you get to have exposure to the real estate market in Singapore, you get to have dividends, but it's also liquid, and then you're diversified altogether. If you're watching this and you're outside Singapore, and you might be asking, what you're saying, Marvin, is very interesting. How can you actually do it? What I want to share to you is not just also in Singapore. You have the ability right now to invest in one go, that you could have a platform that allows you to invest in Singapore stocks, their market. You also have the ability to buy US stocks directly, but not just that, you can also buy and trade US options. You can also do plain vanilla, covered call, and vertical option strategy, meaning when you start investing in Singapore and when you start looking at platforms that will allow you to invest in Singapore, you don't just get Singapore, but you have the ability to invest in US stocks directly. You have the ability also to trade options and so much more. What I want to share to you is you can do all of that in one platform, and you can do all of that even if you're based in the Philippines or even you're living outside the Philippines as well. The platform that I'm talking about that allows you to be able to trade US stocks, Singapore stocks, US options, and so much more is uSMART. It's a Singapore-based platform that allows you to be able to have exposure to all of those things in one go. Aside from having the ability to invest in all of those markets, Singapore market, US stock market, US options, it's licensed and regulated by MAS in Singapore, which is widely recognized as one of the most reputable regulatory bodies in the world. Client funds and positions are securely held by custodians. If you're watching this right now and you have online access, it's very, very easy for you to be able to open an account. So I'll put the link down below for uSMART in Singapore for you to be able to do it. It's actually easier to open an account there as compared to other traditional means that we've actually tried in the past. So imagine while you're watching this sitting at your home in the Philippines, as long as you have access online, it's very, very easy for you to open an account. All of the details will be in the links, but not just that. People might be asking also that it's easy to open, but how do I get to transfer? Same thing. They have processes to be able to seamlessly and easily transfer your funds from the Philippines for you to be able to not just open an account, but also fund the account that you have. And in the same way, it goes both ways, that if you want to withdraw, take it out, they have processes as well in order for you to be able to withdraw should you want to also take profits in your positions. As what I've mentioned earlier, when you start investing in uSMART, you don't just get exposure to the Singapore market, which there are a lot of amazing companies that are very, very stable. You also have the ability to buy fractional shares of US stocks, meaning you don't need a large amount of money for you to be able to buy US stocks. If the stock price of Apple is above 150, Google is higher, that's less high, you don't have to buy one share. You can buy a fraction of a share. So what's nice about that, and I think this is where this has merit also, in one platform, should you think that you're more bullish about the US economy and then you have Singapore stocks, you can sell, take profits from your Singapore positions and transfer and buy US stocks. In the same way also, if you think you've maximized also your positions in the US market and you also want to shift and transfer and pivot and move to Singapore because you think it's undervalued, you can sell your US stocks seamlessly and transfer it so that you can buy Singapore stocks. But not just that, in one platform, you have the ability to be able to trade US options. And what makes it very fascinating is that there are a lot of people who will be long-term investors where it's okay for them to hold and buy US stocks, Singapore stocks. But there will be also a group of people that would want to take on the volatility, take on more leverage, take on more risk. And you have the ability to be able to do that in one platform, in the uSMART trading platform, where you also get to trade US options as well. I encourage you, if you think that you are in a position in life right now that you want to not just invest in the Philippines, but you also want to start to diversify. You want to position in other markets. You want to go into Singapore. You want to go into the US markets. And you also want to trade options. One platform where you can try to do that is uSMART, that's based in Singapore. Links are down below for you to be able to check it out. And I do suggest this. Please take the time to research and study. Don't just buy, don't just sell, don't just trade, or don't just invest just because I talk about it here. Do your own due diligence. Check out the website, look at their track record, look at the platform, try it out yourself. Try it with a small amount. And once you are more comfortable and you have conviction also investing in the platform, investing in those markets, then you can continue to scale it up and add more. Because I'll say this over and over, this entire investing game, this entire sphere of investing, it's all about knowledge and it's all about conviction and experience. When you have all of those together, I think that's something very, very formidable because you've taken the time to be a better investor. I guess that's it for now. If you have any questions, I'm gonna try to make more videos about uSMART Singapore. If you have any, and if you want me to talk more about them as well, put them down below and I'll try my best to be able to answer the questions that you guys send as well. I guess that's it for now. This is Marvin Gurmo. I hope this video helps you trade well, trade strong, trade smart. See you all again soon and God bless you all.